Our first panel today is focused on systems and progress and features folk who are innovating from within Detroit's systems, the systems that shape Detroit, its housing, its education, infrastructure, and economy. And they were never designed with everyone in mind. This panel will explore the quiet movements that are underway, where change makers are challenging outdated models and reimagining the architecture of our city's future. So please join me in welcoming Angel Garcia, principal from Western International High School, Catherine Susko, Vice President of Workforce Planning, Development, and Belonging at Henry Ford Health. Y'all can make some noise, y'all real quiet. Jeremiah Steen, founder and executive director of the Steen Foundation and entrepreneur, and Leona Medley, executive director at the Joe Louis Greenway Partnership. Now that sounds like Detroit, okay? Thank you so much for participating. You know, we have a slate of questions, but you know, we're fresh from the conversation between Dr. McAfee and Stephen, and there were so many salient points that were made in Dr. McAfee's keynote and in a conversation with Stephen. I'm wondering, just, you know, 15, 20 minutes after that conversation, what are some of the fresh takeaways that you have that you're thinking about and how you will apply that to some of the work that you are doing? Jeremiah, how you doing, Jeremiah?
Hilarious.
Give it up for Jeremiah Steen, y'all. He's such a star.
Thank you. No, I was really inspired by the conversation that the doctor provided. I was really interested in just his perspective around what can be done for the next generation to be prepared for what's to come. And I think the biggest thing that really was highlighted is that just the options that you need young folks to see that are possible, and the risk that you need to be open and willing for young folks to be able to take, even if they fail, right? Because there are going to be lessons within that. So there is no perfect way of, doing things, but just giving those young folks the ability and the opportunity to be exposed is going to be a huge thing. So that was the biggest thing, and how far, can you go in that exposure and in the risk that they're allowed to take is going to be really key.
Talk a little bit about your role in the Steen Foundation.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started the Steen Foundation in 2019. I had a chance to go work with Jane Goodall in Tanzania to learn the power of philanthropy, storytelling, and service learning. I used the grant from the opportunity. It was $3,000 to actually start the Steen Foundation. At the time, our work was supposed to support all the disinvestment that was happening in DPS CD. So that was the disinvestment in arts, science, and then a musical theater at the time. So we were providing that in the after-school format. Then COVID hit, so we realized that it's a much larger issue at stake, and it's actually youth unemployment. And so now we invest solely in youth unemployment as to retain and attract talent. So that's internships, fellowships, full-time positions, and then networking opportunities. And as of recently, we just bought a business, Pages Bookshop. That's thank you. Yeah. And it's completely youth-led, as the foundation is. So no one over the age of 25 works at the Steen Foundation. Our investors are actually 3 young ladies who are Gen Z. They're under the age of 25. It's been just a whirlwind of an experience to really be intentional about investment in the next generation of leaders and entrepreneurs.
I love it. Jeremiah Steen, Gen Z, not asking for permission, just doing it. Leona, a fresh reflection from you. I'm interested to hear what you heard.
Yeah, I would just start us off with a what up, doe?
What up, doe?
What up, doe?
And even that, take your beating. There was a moment of emotional clarity when he said that. Because for me, I think that there is this discourse that we have internally and even in groups about what we would do and how we would respond, and if they came over to get us on the slave ship, what we would do. We would be fighting. And that was a moment that my soul needed, because although I have a response, I don't know if it is the response that I thought that it would be. And I needed a space to say, sometimes you need to take your beating. And that is what the last 9 months has felt like, and I haven't been able to process the beating, right? That this is what you're taking, and so many of us are taking it, and there is a collectiveness that is happening around it. And so, but it does not mean that you're not fighting and that you've given up. And so there was just a moment of clarity of need that I had when he said that I don't know if I processed much after that, because I was just in the moment of that statement.
I mean, it's such a gift when someone can come and give a talk and give language to your experience that you did not have yet. That's deep. And you are leading the Joe Louis Greenway Partnership. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so, the Joe Louis Greenway as a project is a 29-mile recreational trail that is connecting 4 cities, Detroit, Highland Park, Hamtramck, and Dearborn. When it is complete, it will be the largest urban trail in our country. I have the honor and privilege, thank you. I have the honor and privilege of leading a team at the partnership that is really focused on ensuring that residents in these cities experience an actual tangible economic benefit from it, but that we also address things like, the cultural and healing that happens through public space, addressing past wrongs through public space program and activation. And so, we are excited that this project is happening, and we call it a community design vision, because even last night I was at a community meeting, and we continue to ensure that residents and their vision for this project continue to be at the center.
Angel, your fresh reflection from the previous
I like the fact that I heard, we don't believe in coincidences. I heard the phrase learned helplessness yesterday in an instructional leadership team meeting, and I think for school leaders, it can manifest itself in sort of, this is what it is, sort of taking that stance in your school. And, you have all these sort of reactionary decisions towards students or staff, and you just kind of accept what, the state that students come in and react to things in this surface level, instead of really interrogating what's happening in front of you and having conversations, building relationships, spending the time, sharing the turf, and building trust with students. And I think about that in terms of my journey as a school principal, that at first I feel like I did walk into the space and just sort of, just deal with things, almost like in this managerial state. And as I grew as a school leader, I learned how important it is to really sit down with folks, especially students, young people, and find out why it is they came through the doors a certain way. And I think that you can directly address this idea of learned helplessness in schools when you take a proactive approach, and that's something that really stuck out to me.
Yeah, and you are the principal where?
Yes, my name is Angel Garcia. I'm the principal of Western International High School in Southwest Detroit. We serve almost 2,000 students. Thank you. Stop me whenever you want. I can talk out forever. But we're the highest enrolled Latino school in the state of Michigan. Mm-hmm. We serve over 1,200 multilingual learners, and also students from all over the city, Detroit, and the surrounding greater Detroit area.
All right. Thank you so much. Catherine, your fresh reflection from the previous conversation.
I echo a lot of the sentiments that have been shared, but I think where I went most internally is that we've never been in this moment before. And as I reflect on that, and I think about, the journey of parenthood, I've never been in this moment as a parent before either, right? And I look back at my children, and I have been in that moment. And in that moment, I was looking ahead. So my reflection is, am I really embodying what I want them to see as a change maker, as a leader, as a humanitarian, as a community builder? And if I'm not, then what do I need to change to make sure that that's the perception they're getting, and that they're not taught helplessness, but they're inspired by hope? because at the end of the day, successful parenting is having, civilly contributing people building a society that is available for all. And so if that's the end goal, it's really a self-reflection in the mirror to say, am I showing up the way that I want them to see me every day? Or are they seeing the fear in my eyes? Because I agree that once you're afraid, you seize a little bit, right? But if you're determined and resilient, then you push through that. And so just making sure that the way in which I'm projecting myself is a true reflection of how I want to be and I want to be seen.
Talk about your current role.
I have the absolute privilege of being an HR nightmare in HR. And what I mean by that is when we talk about innovation and we talk about systems and we talk about community building and economic development from a business perspective and policies and practices, I get to kind of defy the norm a bit and find real solutions that work for real people. And that's at the human level, the individual learner level, and build processes and practices that really allow people to show up their best self, but then build programs that make sure that they have the supports they need. Working for Henry Ford Health, I can't ask my labor force or my workforce to come in and serve the most vulnerable people in our city at their most vulnerable times if they themselves are going through a vulnerable moment. So really being able to stand up programs, stand up practices that support internal development. And then from a business perspective, as one of the largest employers in the state and the largest employer in the city, being able to challenge the norms of economic development partnered with workforce development. You cannot have economic development if you do not invest in workforce development. And that means more than what happens within our four walls. It means breaking down the silos of institutions and really looking back and making sure that we are impacting lives earlier in a positive way that reinforces community building, community development, and just caring for each other.
I want to acknowledge and show respect to the difference in roles, right? I have to bring up roles because I think oftentimes we struggle to accept and even commiserate with folks who have a role that differs from our own, right? And I have always had a role that has been outside of the large, big systems, right? And you all are in systems of healthcare, systems of philanthropy, systems of education, systems of land management, movement, and development. And those are tricky roles, right? And especially if we are trying to create an atmosphere where we can create the futures that we want, right? And I would venture to say that you all are serving within these large structures and sectors to do just that, right? How are you all, as a part of like the beast, right, in the belly of the beast, assessing what needs to happen in your sector to get us into the future that where we are caring about, as Dr. McAfee said, all, right? Because that's the word in the Constitution that nobody can come after. Leona, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think, when I think about public space, it is one of the projects that has the opportunity to be an economic driver for so many other things. Because, the investment in public space can spur workforce, can spur affordable housing, the building of new schools, bringing in more families and all of these things and ensuring that there's opportunity. I mean, we see that happening across the country. We see it happening internationally. And for us, how do we know what our system needs? We literally get that from our residents. We are continuously talking and engaging with our community, with our residents to understand what they need, what they want to see. And also, it's like need and then hope and desire and abundance. Oftentimes we're always so focused on the need, which is at one end of the spectrum, and we're not really giving people an insight into the abundance and the things that you need or want that you don't even know it yet. And so we're trying to expose community and residents and neighborhoods that have been disinvested for decades, that have had schools close in these neighborhoods over and over again, where they're being the kids are being bussed out. We're trying to, through this project, bring in the idea and bring back the idea of abundance and exposure to that, because once we start to do that, residents are saying, oh yes, we had this before. We didn't always not have, we didn't always live in deficit and in want. Our parents lived in environments and neighborhoods that had houses, and it had grocery stores, and it had, pharmacies and dental offices and all of the things that create a thriving and abundant, healthy neighborhood and community where we have jobs that pay us. And so we continuously are tapping in to our residents. We are finalizing our Youth Advisory Council, which will be partnering with you, Steen Foundation. But we pay those young people because we wanted to make sure that when they came in and we were tapping into their genius, into their intellect, that they weren't making the decision of engaging in their neighborhood or going to work at McDonald's so that they can pay their phone bill or contribute to the bills of the house. And so, those are the things that we are focused on, but we're a public space organization. We throw parties on the Greenway. But through those parties, we're saying, how do we make sure that we are addressing what residents say they want and they need so that they can live those dreams?
Yeah, I got a quick follow-up. How are you solving for being a public space organization that is shepherding and stewarding a massive development, right? That will bring upon market forces, that will bring an economy that has been absent for years, and in solving for this fact, in that the market has almost always been adversarial to the advancement of Black folks in neighborhoods. How are you solving for that? How are you thinking about that?
One of the things I can tell you that in this room, if you're from Detroit, if you're from this region, you can be proud, and Detroit is leading the way and is an exemplar, because Detroit did a planning study in parallel to the 2-year engagement about the design of the project. Unlike other similar projects around the country, that, the Beltline in Atlanta, where they experienced a great amount of displacement, studying the need and the desire of the residents didn't happen at that time, right? They only kind of came afterwards and said, oh my God, here's this displacement, now what do we do? And it's too late. Here in Detroit, there was a 2-year planning study with hundreds and hundreds of meetings with residents to talk about economic development, taking residents, sending them around the country to look at examples of this project and other places so that they can see what the potential is, right? We're telling people we're going to build a Greenway, but they've never seen it. So let's send you somewhere so you can see it. So right now, you can go online to the JOG website, joellewisgreenway.com. You can pull up the planning study, and I see a resident in here that was involved in that process. That process started and is ongoing. And it's very intentional about, we know that if we don't act today and do this before we start building the Greenway, that the outcomes that we don't want will be here.
Jeremiah, I want to come to you. You started a foundation. You are in this big and wide sector of philanthropy, and you're doing it differently, but you're also in the belly of the beast. So tell me, what needs to happen? What needs to happen? Are you trying to spur a different way of movement for foundations currently and foundations that will be started?
No, thank you for that question. I think for me, I kind of centered the work that we're doing around generational equity, right? It's around our boomer to zoomer model that us as generations should all be working together to solve the issues that society puts in front of us, with all of us being at the table. Right now in Michigan, we have about 140,000 young folks who are unemployed. That's not just the issue for young people, that's the issue for the future that we're holding. So some that we're all, that they're inheriting, but the one that we're also making decisions for today. At the Steen Foundation, I think we're not trying to reinvent the wheel, but really try to figure out what systems are already in place and then how we can then partner with them to reactivate them, to be more intentional about how they're engaging the inheritors of the work that they're doing. For example, at Pages, we're working with Councilwoman, Mary Waters with Next Up 313, so that Pages can be a hub for entrepreneurship, so young folks can actually sign up and actually have their businesses be a part of the Oracle, which actually allows them to actually be verified vendors by the city of Detroit, and actually learn opportunities and ways to engage with their community around their project or initiative. And then also identifying other partners who are doing great work. I think we're still, I think this is a perfect time for us to get out of our silos, right? And start to engage one another in a different way. This is the time for us to really start to see what are what makes us alike, and actually start tackling grants together, start tackling opportunities together. We're no longer in this scarcity mindset, and we're really trying to embed that in Gen Z, because we notice that seems to be a major issue. What we notice with the older generation, which just we identify, is that there's a competitiveness. No, we all are flying, at least the notion I have, we all should be flying in the same direction, even if we have different approaches. Even if someone else is, in front of this, this flock, we all have a goal, and that's for every young person to receive every tool necessary for them to achieve their aspiration. And so, going about doing that through partnership is key.
Yeah, I love that, getting out of that scarcity mindset. Catherine, your major employer, Henry Ford Health System, could have left workforce development to schools and policymakers, but you guys did not. Why did you feel it was essential to step into the space yourselves to actively build partnerships in the education and workforce development spaces?
I think that whole notion of helplessness is probably where we started. The labor market in the state is tight, and we've seen dramatic shifts in it. When we look at the labor market in healthcare specifically as an industry, it's not growing at the rate in which we need it to. And then when we look at the impact of really being able to impress upon the next generation the opportunity that comes with a career, not just a job. So transforming how we look at community building, how we look at relationship building within the organization, how we look at really being good stewards and strong partners in the communities that we're serving. It redefines what our role is as health creators. And when we think about community health and wellness, it's not just the problematic response to an ailment or an illness or a disease. It's really leaning into what do you need in order to live a healthy lifestyle? And we can't really do that without providing real opportunities. I love the notion of going back and working in our high schools. I'm very proud of the work that we do in our high schools and very proud of the partnerships that we've built. But I'm even more proud of what we've been able to provide and build by way of collaboration, because no single entity can do it alone. So as I think about technological changes, as I think about shrinking workforce, I think about reimagining work, and even reimagining the way in which we deliver care, it's required a real look and real reflection on workforce development that says, are we providing the right opportunities at the right time? And are we helping our workforce matriculate into advanced careers so that it's not just a game of retention, but it's really a game of building career pathways and defining what a career pathway really means.
And building community, right?
And building community.
Yeah.
It's at the heart of it.
It's at the heart of it. Angel, I want to come to you. You said schools must help kids learn how to dream again. That's the quote. How do you balance meeting immediate student needs, and there are many, with creating space for this kind of long-term visioning? Because the present is so uncertain, right? How do you create space to move beyond what is present, what the current condition is, for young people to dream?
Well, I'll begin with a little bit of edu-speak. So Maslow's hierarchy of needs states that you've got to meet people's basic needs before they can, begin to develop and learn and become full, adults and citizens, part of our society. And from as early as I can remember in terms of my principalship, one of our focuses was really bringing the right number of personnel and the right people into the school. When I became principal, there were 3 assistant principals and myself, and we did everything. That was really an impossible task. It didn't really give us a lot of time to engage with students. As our budget increased and our capacity increased, we're now at a place where we're able to employ 5 deans. So deans of culture who are both reactionary and proactive, 7 counselors, 3 social workers, a myriad of partners who are able to meet students where they're at and really, interact with them at the point of their greatest need. We also use a lot of systems that give us great data. We have a lot of students who are living with grandparents or aunts or friends, and those students would actually be considered homeless in terms of when you're looking at McKinney-Vento. So we collect a lot of that information and get them the right resources. And we, that's also considered a Tier 3 intervention. And we do a universal wellness screener that's wrapping up now, where students kind of give us insight as to where they are with their mental health. There's a scale, obviously, that the answers go into, and we target our intervention around those students. We do a panorama, love, challenge, and prepared survey where students they're asked how they feel about school or their level of belongingness. Our teachers challenging them academically. So we do a lot of things that I believe give us a lot of information and serve and target students where they're at. And I believe that gives us the space to really start refining the work that actually happens. Our service, the one product that we produce, is the diploma, and that's what a school does. So we've got to get into that work and really refine what we're trying to do. And I think the foundation that we've built now is going to allow us to get into what it means to dream. Our mentors, our community mentors, for a long time sought positions or to move out of our area in Southwest Detroit. So, they go downriver, they leave the state, whatever the case is. Now we're seeing more of our mentors stay around, and that's who our students need to look up to. We have a lot of our teaching representation is not very much our teacher corps is not very much a representation of our students, so it's difficult for those connections to be made. I've focused on hiring alumni, students who've been through, and I actually am an alum myself of Western International High School. I never dreamed of this happening, but I was an alum of Western, and I walked the same halls my kids walk. I ate the same lunch. I played varsity baseball. I played in the park with Mo Blackwell. So I can relate a lot. I can't relate with everything, but I can relate a lot with what our students have been through, and they need to see the faces of the mentors and the forefathers and mothers who went through what they're going through, and I think that's really important. So that's been our focus. But all of those things create space to start dreaming, and the education system itself over the last however many decades has become sort of this factory of churning students out and giving them diplomas, and then whatever happens, happens. What we're trying to do now is really take our time and give the space to the right people to start building out what students are really dreaming about doing. We have some of those systems in place, but now we're really taking the time to go through and help students achieve those things. So it's a point of pride for us, yeah.
When you talked about, the dominant population in the school, I couldn't help but to think about all of what is happening externally. That same dominant population is a population that is being targeted. How is that showing up in the educational process, and how are you supporting students and still moving them beyond that current condition into dream space?
Yeah, I will say since January, in the infamous executive order, it's shown up in a little bit of a challenge with attendance. We were a school where prior to January, we were on this amazing trajectory of plus 90% daily attendance we're a comprehensive neighborhood school, by the way. That means that anybody who comes across our door and comes to our counter can come to our school. We don't have a application or an exam process. We educate students with all walks of life, all capacity, all ability levels. So, a 90+% attendance rate is pretty good. All kinds of economic challenges with transportation. So after that happened, and we, experienced a lot of trauma between January and now, our students have, that's manifested itself in a, decreased attendance rate. So we are seeing it. What I pride our school on, and our staff and our support staff, is that we're still maintaining a pretty good attendance rate. It's not where we want to be, but our students trust us. Our district is a sanctuary district, and I know that's one of those words that you don't dare say out loud, but we're proud of that. So we advertise widely and loudly that we don't cooperate with those external forces, and our students, when they walk through our doors, know that they're safe.
They're safe.
Thank you.
Wow.
I'm 6'2", something, so I'll stand. You're getting through me.
And you're an athlete, so
yeah. So
Let's
but
do
it's something that kids got to feel safe. to
Yeah.
Dream. You're not going to be a dreamer if you're not
Yeah.
feeling safe. Yeah.
Yeah. Catherine, I want to come back to you around, what you see as an immediate challenge. What is the antithesis that you have to face every single day to get the work done that you're trying to get done within the health system?
Life is hard.
Yeah.
We as a system shouldn't make it harder. So
Bob, okay. Say it again.
life is hard, and we as a system should not make it harder. Angel spoke about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and my team, if they've heard it once, they've heard it probably 1,000 times. We operate one person at a time. So when I have individuals come into work who are experiencing homelessness, who are experiencing food scarcity, who are experiencing domestic violence, who are experiencing tragic loss of life with their children, their relatives, their brothers, their sisters, or a generation of caregivers who are trying to raise their children and support their parents at their most critical points in life.
Yeah.
I can't ask you to come to work as your whole and best self if I can't see you as the individual and the person that you are. Mm-hmm. And that stands true for the students we engage in and with. And as we move into spaces to serve as mentors, it's really important that our students can see themselves as a reflection of us and that they can feel cared for. But my team members need to feel the same thing. So when I think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs and I think about workforce development, and as I lean into what a career means, if I can't get you to that minimum threshold, which I've set arbitrarily as the Alice threshold, quickly, I can't ever ask of you to trust the system to help with your development. And my end goal in the here and now is really to get people to a place where they can continue to dream, where circumstances don't inhibit the ability to dream and the ability to lean into a spirit of lifelong learning and advancement.
I mean, talk about soul work, right? Helping a really big system to see the humanity in everybody that is embedded within that system. That is amazing.
It's a beautiful part of working for a system that's been committed to the city of Detroit for over 100 years and who continue. We have a small project on West Grand Boulevard. Continues to really, just a small one, a little one. But again, collaboration and community partnership, because we couldn't do that alone. But we're trying really hard to lean into what we want to envision this city to be, and that is a place where you can live, work, and play, and where we can continue to build community.
Jeremiah, talk about some of the wins and challenges that you all face as an organization and that you face just as a young person doing this work when demanding a seat at the table for young people everywhere.
That's a phenomenal question. I can go on for much longer time than we have.
I know, yeah.
No,
In
it's-
30 seconds.
Yeah, 30 seconds. Yeah, no. It's really just, it really for me, it was just a change in mindset that I belonged at the table. That I wasn't just there as a decorative piece. If I was there as a decorative piece, that I wasn't going to be remaining a decorative piece. In that space.
Come on, sir.
Yeah. And then being able to carry that lesson to other young folks who are going through those same challenges as they're, shaping their own pathway. And then also helping to demystify the systems that are in place,
Yeah.
especially around opportunities for them in regards to their careers around nonprofits. Many folks think if you work for a nonprofit, you're not going to be making any profit. No, nonprofits, make money. And then also, if you're going into the trades, they think that you're not going to make a lot of money. There's a lot of opportunity to make money in the trades. So it's really just demystifying the way, I think about things, and then the way the next generation is thinking about things, so that we all can move forward to achieve our aspirations.
I love that, Jeremiah, and I love that you're saying that. And I know there are some folks in philanthropy that are in the room and executive directors that are in the room. We should not be doing this work and be poor. We shouldn't be poor doing this work. Leona, I want to start with you. We got to wrap it up. And so follow my directions, everybody. In one sentence, what gives you hope about the next decade of systems change in Detroit, drawing from today's conversation and Dr. McAfee's vision of genuine, loving democracy? Leona and I are friends, so I know she's going to try to not follow my directions, but I'm going to be a stickler. One sentence.
I'll go back to how I started, that taking your beating isn't losing.
Wow. Angel.
I appreciate being surrounded by like-minded individuals who have high expectations, but are there to support you when you fail.
Jeremiah.
This is a quote from Jane Goodall, but every individual has a role to play. So the sooner we all realize that, embrace that, and move forward with it, the better we'll all be.
I love it. And Catherine.
Innovation can't live in a space that there is no hope.
And hope is an action.
Hope is an action.
Hope is an action. Give it up for these amazing panelists, everybody.